history's most ridiculous jobs that no longer exist.
In this day and age, we really take for granted just how quick and easy it is to be able to communicate. Back in the days of yore, not everyone was rolling around at the speed of sound. It could take several weeks to be able to relay critical information to your buddies, and a lot can change in just a few weeks. Nevertheless, delayed information.
Being a message carrier, that had to be one of the worst jobs during World War I. When they'd give trench warfare, because most people would die just because of bomb bombardment. They would give one guy they would give 4 different guys the same message and just go, okay, now run to the other trench, knowing that 3 of them are going to die, at least. Then if you make it, they give you another letter and they go, okay, now run it back. No! What the f? I mean, that's the worst job. That's going to be the worst job ever in World War I. Being the guy that has to run from in area to area, just knowing that you're probably just going to get blown up.
Information was better than no information at all, and that's why highly trained long-distance messengers could make or break empires. First used thousands of years ago in ancient times, couriers were the best and fastest form of communication pretty much up until the invention of the telegraph in 1837. Sure, boats and trains made things a tad bit faster, but the principle was pretty much unchanged, physically transporting documents from point A to point B. The earliest and most sophisticated courier system of its time was that of the...
Don't spam W subs. We're just going to silently move to sub-only mode. You know, you saw it, right? You know, there's a lot of annoying chatters, just a little spam, it's just, what are we doing?
Mass 2-pointer, but the principle was pretty much unchanged, physically transporting documents from point A to point B. The earliest and most sophisticated...
Oh my god, I never even thought about being a guy that had to transport a message from the king in the UK all the way to the United States. Holy shit. Motherfuckers didn't even know we were in war for 3 months, You gotta get on a wooden boat and sail across the ocean to go, the king decrees that you shall stop. No. Really? Yeah, no. Tell him no. Okay. Gets back on a boat for fucking 4 months. They said no. Okay, well tell him I said that we're going to kill them. Okay. Okay, I'll be back.
The courier system of its time was that of the massive and girthy Achaemenid Empire, also known as, or at least considered to be, the first Persian Empire. They constructed the...
Ping delay? Dude, it's horrible. Oh my god. Yo, that had to feel like having a chat on a 10-minute delay, actually. Saying some shit, not getting a response for fucking forever. You're reading a message from 8 years ago. You're like, oh shit.
Arium, a series of relay stations littered across the Royal Road, the main vein of the empire. This connected 2 major cities within the empire, Susa.
Yeah, but that's not nearly as bad. You having to get on a horse and ride for 7 days, 8 days. How long do you think it would take?
And Sardes, can you...
It's probably actually way longer than that.
Can you deliver this message to, Sardes? Yeah, no problem at all. Sardes, no. The Royal Road stretched across 1,700 miles of the empire's western half.
How long does that take to ride a horse that far?
With patrolling guards and security stations.
A while. It's time to redeem debt. It was a relay? Oh, so you're saying they run it to a guy who runs 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 it to the guy that's supposed to get the message.
At regular intervals, making it heavily secured. I mean, it kind of had to be. Messengers traveling down the road were carrying the orders from the Great King himself, so they were pretty important. Anyone severing or intercepting that line of communication could cause devastating effects. Also at regular intervals were checkpoints. These were relay stations that housed freshly charged horses as well as other messengers ready to pass things along down the line. This system of stations dropped delivery time from roughly 90 days on foot to just 7 to 9 days on horseback.
Oh yeah, because you never need to take time to stop. You finally make it and you just give the guy the letter and he hauls ass.
But what if you didn't have horses? Well, we'd have to ask the Inca. Jump forward 2,000 years to the 1500s, and not much has changed in the ways of communication. In fact, one could argue that it was way worse. With no horses around, Incan runners instead relied on their piggies.
They had a run? Yo, you gotta deliver this 3 countries over. Ooh.
Messengers of the king, called the Chasquis, were slipped,
Just running marathons.
fit, and ready to rip, carrying messages across the vast mountainsides of the Inca Empire. Unlike their Persian counterparts, the Inca didn't carry the messages in their pocket.
How well do you think these guys would fare in like a modern day marathon? Because if you're a Chasqui and your entire job is to just deliver messages on feet or on foot, you gotta be bad. I feel like if you gave them like Nike runners and you're like, all right, get in this race, I feel like they do pretty good now.
Unlike their Persian counterparts, the Inca didn't carry the messages in their pockets, but rather their noggins. And that's because the Inca...
They had to remember the message. Oh my God. Dude, you make it all the way there and you're just like, all right, what did he have to say? Fuck. I don't remember. Something about somebody dying. I'm not sure.
did not have any formal written language.
Oh, that's
wild,
horrible.
right? Instead, apart from some complex numerical systems involving tied knots of string, everything was spoken. So
What? They had a number system of tied string, but they had no written language. They never thought, like, maybe we should write this down. This is really a pain in the ass to try and remember a specific message for a day straight. And it's like, it's probably a not just sometimes one sentence. Like, if you have to relay a message, you might have to relay, like, a complex idea, you know? Like, it's not as simple as, like, oh, hey, go tell this person this king has died. We need to meet up. It's like, no, you have to go let them know, like, a full paragraph of info.
a strong memory was the key to getting the right message across.
It's like the telephone game. Well, I think in this instance, there's not a relay. I don't think it's a guy telling somebody another message who's telling somebody else. I think it's just like, hey, you have to go tell them this.
The Chasquis were tasked with relaying the king's orders to nearby provinces and military commanders. Tell the soldiers that they're doing a solid job and to keep up the great work. Yes, my king.
There's no way it was that simple.
The Inca, though, did rely on relay stations to always have a fresh pair of legs ready to...
That's worse. That's worse. You have the fresh pair of legs, but then now I'm telling a guy a message that I was told, and he has to tell somebody else. And then now it's like the message gets to the guy that needs to hear it, and it's just fucked.
to deliver a message.
It is telephones.
According to Spanish chroniclers, that's a fun word to say, each station was about a half a league apart, but could be as far as a league and a half. That's over 5 miles, or for you metric fellas, over 832.
5 miles, bro? That's not that far for a guy to, like, I mean, that's a far run. Like, I couldn't run 5 miles, like, easily. But for a guy that's job is to run something 5 miles.
2,000 centimeters. The stations were more or less weather-resistant small huts.
Why did we not hold the fuck up? For the people that don't use we use the Imperial. For people who don't use the Imperial system, why are we telling them how many centimeters it is? Just say how many kilometers. 8.3 kilometers.
132,000 centimeters. The stations were more or less weather-resistant small
It's a joke. Yeah, I know, but it's still...
huts with other Chasquis standing about,
Nuts.
ready to get a move on. Upon arriving, the first messenger would give the oral performance.
You must be fun at parties. Oh my god, I remember I used to get that all the time. But then I usually was the guy that was like, why are you fixing a watermelon with ramen? Just eat the watermelon.
For his buddies, and then repeat the message that he came with. After memorizing the information, the next Chasqui sprinted up to 5 miles to the next station. Now keep in mind, this was the Inca Empire. It wasn't easily traversed flat road. It was pretty much uphill both ways, wobbly, cobbly stone roads 10,000 feet above sea level, on par with how our parents walk to and from school every day, or so they claim. The king said to slob his knob, and that Greg's a jerk. The fuck did I do? It's unfortunate that sometimes things get lost in translation, but remember the first rule of exchanging information. Never shoot the messenger.
Sin Eater? What? That's a job? What do you do?
Leave it to the English to come up with some spooky dooky hocus pocus type stuff. If you're extremely poor and a social outcast with no lucrative or meaningful skills whatsoever,
oh my god, you probably gonna eat like their poop or something, dude. Holy.
then the profession of sin eater might have been on the menu for you.
Blimey.
Historically, the job was performed throughout the early 17th century up until the 19th century, mostly in England, Scotland, and Wales. So just this area. As a sin eater, you were always on call for your services, as people have a tendency of kicking the bucket at any given time. So while you sat slapping mud around all day outside your thatched roof cottage, you could receive the news of a local death at the drop of a hat. Oh, he's dead. A relative or loved one would seek out your services almost immediately after the passing had passed. Once you were summoned, you'd pull up your britches and tween off screen to convene with the spiritually unclean. Arriving at the door, you politely knock before entering.
This seems like a good ass job though, bro. What do I gotta go up to the dead guy and go, all right, I've eaten his sins. He's clean.
You waddle inside to see your new customer and get to work. So
It's gonna be like you have to eat a small intestine or some weird shit. You gotta drink his blood.
your job as the local sin eater was to, as you could probably guess, eat the sins of the deceased, as
How do
praying
you do that?
and repentance apparently wasn't good enough. Now, the eating of the sins was of course symbolic in nature, but it was conducted in a literal fashion. The family of the dearly departed presented the sin
Don't say you had to eat him.
eater with food, usually bread and beer. The food was placed on the chest or face of the individual right as they had passed away, supposedly
All right, that's pretty awkward. That's pretty awkward. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so there's a dead guy with a loaf of bread and a pint of beer on his stomach, and the family is going to watch me eat the bread and beer while they're crying over his dead body. And I'm sitting in a dark room because it's the medieval ages, next to a rotting corpse. And I'm just like, just eating bread. You do get free food and a pint of beer. That's pretty awesome. You leave a little drunk.
sucking up all the bad juju as
Good bread. Thanks for the beer.
the soul floated to regions
I'd go, I think he's still spiritually unclean. I'm going to need another 3 beers. I think I'm going to need another, I'm sensing something wrong here. I think I'm going to need another 4 or 5 beers.
beyond. So, now with the food being properly seasoned with a pinch of immorality and a dash of transgression, it was time to chow down. The basic idea of the whole ceremony was that you would effectively absolve the dead of any wrongdoings committed in life, allowing them a clean slate departure for the heavens as a certified good boy. Now, you're probably not surprised to learn that this was far from a Michelin star dining experience. The bread was all stale, and the beer was warm with a bunch of gross floaties in it. Perfect for the hipsters, but...
Okay, and you lost me. Stale bread, warm beer. Ooh.
less than ideal
Warm beer, and it probably tastes like shit, too.
for normal people. So after munching and crunching and glugging and chugging, you'd say a quick yet emotionally packed prayer. Rub-dub-dub, thanks for the grub.
May he be absolved. And then I run out. I dive through the window, break the glass. He's clean.
Yay, God. Where's the shitter? Now with a proper sense of closure, you'd receive your paltry fee and be promptly vacated from the premises. So while your work of purifying one's soul was well appreciated,
Bro, and you get like free food though, no? I feel like this is a W side hustle.
you were looked down upon, even outcasted. The belief was that
Oh, because now you have all the sins.
you'd retain all of these absorbed sins, polluting your own soul in the process. That being the case, sin eaters were forced to live reclusive and isolated lives, being hated, ridiculed, and shunned by the locals. Until it was time to deep throat a sin or 12. It's not exactly clear how the tradition of sin eating was started. Some believe that it derives from the Jewish tradition of the scapegoat, a literal goat that was imbued with all of the local sins and troubles, sent out into the wilderness and actively prodded off a cliff, taking all of the town's trials and tribulations with it. Atonement complete. Thanks, Mr. Goat. As for
Wow, like we as a human race are like so fucking stupid, dude. It's unreal. We fully believed that like we could just like put the fucking every bad thing you've done onto a goat and then just throw it off a cliff, and that makes it better.
sin eating, it seems that the tradition was finally laid to rest in the beginning of the 20th century with the death of Richard Munslow, the last known sin eater in England.
Dude, 1906? I mean, that's like a long time ago, but that's still like modern day history. Like, we're almost at the roaring 20s there.
He reportedly was a humble and well-loved farmer who took on the job after the premature deaths of his children. Very sad. All in all, sin eating really was a self-sacrifice when you look at it, trading in any sense of social standing for a few pence. But hey, free bread and beer.
That's what I'm saying. You know, you're a poor guy starving to death. It's like, all right, I'll eat your sins.
If you thought your childhood was rough,
what was this? Powder monkey. Oh, you just gotta like run back and forth cannon powder.
If you thought your childhood was rough, imagine dipping, diving, ducking, and dodging your way through cannon fire while slugging a heavy sack of gunpowder on a ship in the middle of the ocean. That's what powder monkeys had to deal with almost on a daily basis. So while
they were kids,
may have been pissed at your mom for taking your Game Boy away for a few days, powder monkeys were grateful if they even saw tomorrow. Back during the Age of Sail, naval warfare was a pretty common occurrence. Ships just blasting big metal balls at each other in hopes of sinking the other guy faster or causing enough damage to warrant a surrender. In order to give yourself a fighting chance, you needed a well-trained, well-supplied crew who knew their way around cannons. Besides ammunition, the cannons needed a propellant to send those cannonballs barreling at the faces of the enemy. That propellant, of course, was gunpowder. In the heat of battle, every trained sailor needed to man their stations and execute their responsibilities in order to have a decent shot at survival.
Dude, I feel like I could be a fire fucking, like, pirate captain. I'm so serious. I think I could run that shit. We'd run training drills. You know, we'd fast load cannonballs. You know, cut the reload time down. No, I'm serious. I would treat that shit like a video game. I feel like they didn't practice enough. I feel like a lot of the time they just went into battle and it's like, yeah, they had military training, but it's like, bro, you could really chop down the loading time on these fucking things. I can never get over the fact that, like, in the Revolutionary War, the battle consisted of everybody lining up in a line and shooting a very inaccurate gun and then standing in front of the guy that's pointing a gun at you and spending 2 minutes reloading and fucking, you know, pushing the metal ball down back into your gun. Like, why are we in a line right now? We're making it easier for them to hit us. I know it's like, okay, now we're shooting a wall of bullets and we're able to hit something. Why don't we shoot, separate, merge back, shoot, separate? Like, I don't understand. There had to be a better way to fight. Like, I haven't read Sun Tzu's Art of War, but, like, there's no way in those, like, early gun times that was the best play.
But one responsibility that didn't need much training outside of carry this shit and run over there was that of supplying powder to the cannoneers. Since there wasn't much to the job description,
they spread out once guns became accurate. Yeah, and then it was guerrilla warfare. But, like, still, like, guns aren't accurate. All right, I'm not about to walk in. Like, dude, they would just walk at each other and shoot. And sometimes it'd be like, oh, fuck, they're hitting a flank. They're a mile away. They're flanking. Oh, take fire. What the fuck? I'm running away, dude. I'm not. What? And it's like, they have the flag bearer. And, like, say the flag bearer gets shot in broad daylight. Somebody else has to go pick it up. You're just dead. Just for the symbolic nature of, like, holding the flag up, I'm like, we're just losing a man. Oh, let me put my gun down and go pick up the fucking flag. What?
Task was given to young boys, usually between the ages of 12 and 14.
Then you're not respected. Okay, I'm not respected.
You see, back in this time,
you're, like, actively killing your chances of winning. Like, I'm just going to target the flag bearer because that gets 2 for 1. You kill the guy that's holding the flag. Now the guy's got to put down his gun and go pick it up.
The 16th and 19th centuries, people were just cranking out kids.
Or some jackass who's playing the drums. Gets his head clean blown off with a cannon.
Especially the poor. Simultaneously,
it's a war crime. The guns were inaccurate. You can't say that I could go, I didn't mean to shoot him. I was aiming that way.
Nature was just cranking out infectious and deadly diseases, and industry was cranking out fatal working conditions, both of which were promptly streamlining children into the orphanage pipeline. This, of course, caused orphanages to become overburdened, and they needed some relief. And where's the best place to put able-bodied youngsters just looking for any kind of future?
The army!
The military, of course. European and eventually American navies were scooping up hundreds of impoverished chaps each year and dumping them on ships to take on the role of powder monkey, more often than not against their will. But the young lads were quicker, more agile, and physically smaller than their adult counterparts, making them perfect candidates for the job. During a battle, each boy would quickly carry at least 2 leather cases housing powder cartridges from the ship's powder magazine deep down in the hull, all the way up to the cannons. A dangerous job for sure, but a critical one for the success of—
Mr. Smith just said, made him grow up. Yeah, made him get some hair on their chest. Yeah, did him good. Did him good.
the skirmish.
Same thing with chimney sweeps. Yeah, go jump in that hole.
Oi, lad,
Go jump in that hole. Here's a broomstick.
bring me that very explosive powder, eh? And be quick about it.
Yes, sir. Right away, sir.
It's because guns weren't accurate and standing in a line was the only way they found to hit the enemy. Muskets hit inaccurately, and had a row of them guaranteed that the enemy gets hit. Hitting a flag bearer wasn't a war crime. It showed that their patriotism. Bro, listen. Okay, standing in a line proves accuracy. Why don't they stand in an arc? Why don't they surround the enemy spaced out so they're all aiming in a diverging point where even if they're inaccurate, they're likely to still hit an enemy, but they're not a wall. So individually, the odds that you get hit are extremely low. You know, hey, let's spread out in groups where we just go doom, 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 and aim like inward. They did do that, yeah, but all the shit you see is like people in like literal lines just fucking shooting, standing like a foot apart from each other.
Well, that's a good lad. In exchange, the young fellows were clothed, fed, and given—
You're gonna shoot at one person. No, I'm gonna shoot at the group of idiots that are fucking lined up, aiming at me alone, right? All right, you'll kill me. I'm one person. We all shoot at you from different directions. We just killed 10 of you.
beds, even a little bit of education to fill their head.
Dude, it's wild how high ground in like early war times was just GG's. We're on a hill. It's over. No point in fighting. No point in fighting. You've lost. Even now, having high ground's crazy, but like back then, dude, oh my God. Having high ground, it was just, you're cooked. We're just going to aim cannons at you and it's over.
The plan was to have the boys eventually become official full-time members of the Navy, assuming that they survived to adulthood. Yet despite the fact that they were a key part of the crew, they held no formal naval rank on the ships which they served. Now, while it was nice to have a place to call home, clothes on your back,
Oh my God, this is a real powder monkey.
and food in your belly, it of course came with the steep price of witnessing the horrors of war. Just to clarify, I said that powder monkeys were usually between the ages of 12 and 14. But in reality, some were much younger, with some documentation showing cases of children as young as
Jumpin' Jim and Legless Larry.
7 years old. These little guys were subjected to watching
Bro, there's zero chance a 7-year-old would be good at delivering gunpowder.
their fellow crewmen being blown to smithereens, impaled by split bits of ship, blinded by shrapnel, or having limbs ripped from rogue cannon fire. None of which they were immune to themselves, mind you. It wasn't until the end of the War of 1812 that formal regulations were put in place, preventing any recruitment of powder monkeys under the age of 12 from serving on ships in the United States. The British followed in suit with an age limit of
Bro, you're a 7-year-old on a fucking warship. Oh my God.
13 for the role, though these age restrictions were still often ignored.
And you're getting targeted, dude. They board your ship, you're just easy kills. Like, and they're gonna kill you. Because, I mean, like, maybe they take you captive if you're lucky or some shit, but, like, they're just gonna kill you.
This did, however, fully die out in the mid-1800s once child labor laws were put in place and technology made the role obsolete. Sorry, kids. Looks like it's a big old box of PTSD for Christmas this year.
Uroscopist.
Medieval medicine was wild. Physicians back then were really just throwing anything at the wall to see what stuck, which led to a bunch of strange medical practices that would, luckily, fall out of favor once modern medicine emerged. One such practice was that of uroscopy, the art and science of checking out your pee to determine your health. Now,
Oh my God, dude. Was there like a guy that would like taste your urine? No fucking way. Why is this the Epstein Island here? What the fuck?
I know what you're thinking. Isn't this still used in the modern day? Yes, but no. Urinalysis, as it's practiced today, uses chemical, physical, and microscopic analysis of urine samples to generate quantitative data for diagnosis.
Versus a guy just going, yeah, I think you're going to die soon.
Uroscopy.
That tasted bad. Let me say this nicely. That was gross.
On the other hand, well, it had dudes snooping, sniffing, and sipping your pee. Well, Doc? I need a second opinion.
And what is that guy doing? Is he comparing the urines of like healthy people and unhealthy people and then determining that like if your urine tastes like an unhealthy guy, you're gonna be unhealthy?
Yeah. Now,
that actually doesn't seem like bad logic to me. Like I'm serious. Out of all the dumb shit that like people did medically, where it was like, oh, smells are the reason you're getting sick during the bubonic plague. Like, having a guy drink the pee of a dying man and a healthy man, and then now you know the taste, it's like, okay, now let me just taste other people's urine, and if it tastes like the unhealthy guy, you're probably going to be unhealthy. But, I mean, I feel like that would be, like, semi-true if you had, like, weird kidney problems.
You might be surprised to know that the practice of uroscopy has been around for thousands and thousands of years. The earliest known evidence...
Damn, bro, you think they were getting paid well to drink people's piss?
Evidence that historians have dates all the way back to the 4th millennium BC, where some ancient Sumerian physicians took note of urinary color. Perhaps the most profound early evidence that we have comes from the ancient Egyptians around 1550 BC. This is the Ebers Papyrus, a 65-foot-long medical scroll from ancient Egypt's New Kingdom era. This single document details over 800 diagnoses and remedies for all kinds of conditions ranging from skin problems, eye problems, burns, tumors, a limp, broken bones,
I don't know, dude. If you're alive in like the year 4000 BC and you pee black, it's over. Like, it's just over, man. Now it's like, okay, sure, but I'm not going to like a urologist in the year 4000 BC to stare at my pee and be like, yeah, this is bad.
Birds' teeth, brown parasites.
I'm going to prescribe you to eat 3 mullein leaves.
And of course,
that'll cure you.
Urinary conditions. The study and examination of urine continued for a while, but the formal occupation of uroscopist is believed to have been introduced between the 4th and 7th centuries in the Byzantine Empire.
Didn't you drink piss? Yes, I've drank my own piss multiple times on accident. On accident. Keep that in mind. One time, I'm not going through these stories again. Yes, I've drank my piss on accident. It tastes like really thick, warm salt water, if you're curious. Pee tastes like really gross salt water. All like slimy salt water.
Empire, hitting its peak in the Middle Ages. According to medieval Welsh medical texts, it was believed that urine was the filtrate of the
Tell us the story. I'm like a freshman or sophomore in high school. I'm playing Black Ops 3 Search and Destroy. Maybe I was in 8th grade. I'm playing Black Ops 3 Search and Destroy, because I think that's when it came out, actually. I might have been in like 7th or 8th grade. I'm playing Black Ops 3 Search and Destroy. It's mid-round. I have to pee. I can't run to the bathroom. I pee in a bottle that I was just drinking out of. I put it back where I was drinking out of. Moments later, I go, I'm quite thirsty. And instinctively, I grab the bottle. I sip it. I go, that's piss. Yuck. Spit it out. Wash my mouth. Move on. Right? I do it again like 6 months later. Then there was another time where I was drunk at my friend's house, and I packed a water bottle in my bag, my backpack, because we were going to go to a bar. I was going to sleep at his house. So I pack a water bottle in my bag, and I fall asleep. I wake up, and I go, thirsty. Reach into the bag. It's very dark. I start drinking, and about like 2 gulps in, I go, that's piss. And I put it down. And I go, I hope it was my pee. I assume it was my piss. But at some point, I think I had to have stood up and peed in the bottle in the middle of the night or something. I don't really know, but... yeah.
Or humors: black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and blood. Of course, we now know that
there might have been a 4th time, but I think there was 3.
Your pee is the product of your kidneys filtering your blood and excess water, but hey, medical science was still a baby back then. Because of this...
How do you pee in a bottle? You aim the pee into the bottle. So easy. What do you mean? I've pissed in a bottle 1,000 times. 1,000 times. I've peed in a bottle. It's hard for women? Yeah, because they don't have a fucking rod to aim with. You're just, you're just guessing.
Uroscopists believe that urine...
Gatorade bottle's the easiest. but you could pee in a water bottle. You know, there was one time where, you know, those like snack water bottles. There was one time I was at like a track meet and I really had to pee. Or we were going to a track meet and we only had those bottles and I filled like 4 of them. It was like I was like bottling like alchemy, like or alchemist chemicals. It was like done. Had to cut the pee, throw it away, fill another one. Fill another one.
Was the end all be?
Dude, I told y'all there was one time we're going to a track meet that was far away. It was like 5 hours. And my friend had to pee, but he didn't have a water bottle, and everybody held their water bottle. Like, we wouldn't stop. So all the guys had piss bottles. Like, you would just drink water out of a bottle, and then you would pee in that bottle, and then you would dump it out at the track meet, like when we got there. And, well, there was one time that I filled my water bottle, and I still had to pee. So I went, I need to dump this out. So I didn't want to wait till we stopped fully. So I was like, oh, I'll just dump it out when we're going slow. And I'm sitting in the middle of the bus and I'm dumping the pee out. But the fucking wind resistance is just slapping the pee right into the side of the bus. So the whole side of the bus is covered in my piss. And so I just go, well, and I just pee in the bottle. We get to the meet. And I step out of the car, and bro, the whole side of the bus is just stained with piss. I just leave. I come back, the bus is clean. You know, I guess the bus driver might have assumed something happened. But there was another time, it was a spring meet, and I don't know where we were driving, but we were driving far. And my friend had to pee, but he didn't bring a bottle, so he peed in a Dorito bag. But he filled it so much that he was holding it like this. And we hit like a speed bump and he went, oop. And then the bottle just smacked the ground and the piss went everywhere. The piss went everywhere. It starts like dripping down. It starts like dripping down the aisle. Oh my God, it was hilarious.
All for determining a person's health status, and thus it was the most important substance to study. The most telling quality of the urine was its color. So after collecting a fresh sample, I mean a real fresh sample, the color was immediately observed. But a problem with qualitative analysis is that it's completely subjective, whereas quantitative is objective. When it comes to subjectivity, one PP doctor may interpret the same color differently than another. For objectivity,
gotta get multiple opinions then.
Numbers are numbers. There's no argument there. In order to mitigate subjectivity and establish some sort of consistency, the piss percipients often constructed quick reference guides,
a piss wheel of sorts, a color wheel,
to use as a standard for diagnosis, sharing their knowledge across heavily detailed manuscripts. As an example, if your urine was clear, you might have some spleen issues. If it was dark red, your liver's too hot. Green, you've got jaundice. Black, well,
yo, if I'm pissing green or black, it's over. You're bleeding like if you piss black, you're bleeding profusely into your urine, right? Like into your kidneys. Like you're gonna die. Like if you're pissing black.
Wait,
is black not normal? No. If you're pissing black in modern day, you just go to a hospital. But like if you're pissing black in like the fucking 1200s, you're fucking cooked.
Black urine a thing? Oh.
Wow. That's just blood. It's just bloody urine.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be doing too well if you're ink.
Bro posted that shit on Reddit. Is this normal? Is this normal? Question mark.
You know, your dink. While you had the visual
fucking pee and grape juice
aspect, uroscopists also ventured down the avenues of smell and taste to solidify the reasonings if a diagnosis couldn't be immediately deciphered from color alone.
Wow, dude. Literally just smelling the fucking urine bottle.
Urine that tasted sweet was evidence of diabetes, whereas stinky pee-pee usually meant infection. Now, while this may seem
what if they were eating asparagus?
Silly looking at it through a modern lens, there was some validity to the practice. Uroscopists were able to properly diagnose conditions like diabetes and jaundice through their practices. Diagnosis was great and all, but without proper and effective treatment, you're not going to be making much progress, except just being closer to the grave. It's like if someone tells you, hey, your car is broken, and then proceeds to offer no meaningful solution. At that point, they're just taking the piss. The ultra wealthy really love spending their money on stupid shit. They love it, in fact. When you've got more money than you could spend in 50 lifetimes, why not? Dumping the most expensive champagne on luxury watches, a fifth mansion on the beach, rigging elections, whatever tickles their sacks. But ostentatious spending is nothing new. You see, back in the 1700s, wealthy estate owners in England, Ireland, and Scotland were bored out of their skulls. I mean, think about it. The extent of dopamine rushes back then were what? Attending yet another opulent ball, hunting some wildlife, racing a horse or two, then putting them down when they don't win. And when you felt like a real degenerate, you had excessive gambling. But these frivolous activities got stale real quick. There needed to be something fresh, something grand, something right in your own backyard. That's when the idea of the English landscape gardens started to bloom, transforming sprawling grounds of estates into picturesque and serene scenes. Replacing the clear-cut and formal gardens of their French counterparts, English landscapes were to appear engineered by nature itself, with natural slopes, ponds, groupings of trees and flowers, a nice boulder or two.
How is that interesting, though? Like, how does that provide entertainment?
And
it's just like a better backyard.
Organic decoration. These established wonderful getaways for owners and guests alike to retreat and get in touch with nature. But for some, all the stone and trees and grass just wasn't cutting it. Something was missing, something human, like a person. Believe it or not, some wealthy fellas sought out to hire real-life people as decorations for their gardens. Take, for example, one Joseph Pocklington. Born into a wealthy banking family and receiving his inheritance at just 26 years old, his priority was to just spend the shit out of it. After all, what's the point of having money if you don't spend it? As my dad always tells me, you
Valid.
only live once, son. Enjoy it. Well, Mr. Pocklington over here made damn sure he was going to enjoy the life he was given. After purchasing his own private island on a lake, he commissioned the construction of his own armed fortress, a druid temple, and several natural grottos. In order to make the estate seem more lively, he advertised employment for a man to live in
Wanted man for my garden. And he just watched the guy live in his garden. That is so fucking weird.
his garden, demanding that the man, quote, live for 7 years without washing or cutting his
Live for 7 years without washing or cutting his hair. So every day you just check up on like, oh, is this guy dead or not? He has to like, he's forced to just be in like some secluded area.
hair or nails. The man was to never speak or interact with any guests and would spend his lonely
Oh my God, you would have your own little gnome. Yeah, you would have like a guy that you would watch from afar and just be like, what's he doing today?
days in an artificial cave. The basic idea was for guests to observe a man in his most natural state, untouched by societal influence. If the man was able to carry out these conditions, he would be paid the equivalent of about $100,000 in today's money. Now that's spread over the whole 7 years, so
That is pretty bad. 100K in 7 years.
it's not really that much. But the position
But does he get fed or does he have to like hunt for food?
was dubbed the Ornamental Garden Hermit. Now get this, Pocklington was not the only fella to come up with this idea. Others employed their own hermits with much more lenient rules. Perhaps the most well-known example was the Hill family from Shropshire. Their botanical bro was dubbed Father Francis, and he fully interacted with guests, told stories, and dispensed his own wisdom, all while maintaining a mysterious yet comforting presence.
I want to see the hermit, mummy. I want to see the hermit.
The trend of the ornamental garden hermit lasted just over a century, finally being uprooted in the 1830s in favor of
Yo, that really does suck as a job though. Like I feel like I'd rather be the guy like having to like taste pee and shit than like actually just live alone for 7 years and not interact with humans. Like having a day job where you kind of look at pee and once in a while you got to drink the pee. It's like, that's better than being like actually fully alone. You would go insane, would you not? A part of your job requirement is you can't interact with anyone.
living statues. And to answer your
That's horrible. Like you don't get to live. You're literally a hermit. You have to fucking live in a cave for 7 years.
question, no, garden gnomes were not inspired by the garden hermit. Those came from Germanic folklore, hundreds of years prior. But they'll still guard your garden as best they can.
Wow.
The worst jobs in
All right, we gotta watch that another day. Now we got a royal butt wiper. Oh my God, watch that. No, we're gonna watch that another day. That's got to be watched another day. That is so interesting. royal butt wiper. And they've roped me back in.